Mary had a little man.
We believe that all men are created equal.
To the magnificent mosaic that is America.
From radio beacon to radio beacon. I have a dream today. Change has come to America.
Believe me.
Help is on the way.
Knock, knock. Who's there?
It's a figment of your imagination.
Randi Rhodes Show. Turn up your mind.
In Nashville today, calls for action after the school shooting that killed 3 children and 3 adults by a heavily armed former student. Protesters, including mothers and children, taking to the state capitol today, demanding stricter gun safety measures at the state and federal level. About 200 protesters went inside the Capitol building. You can see them there, chanting, "Do something. The time is now." And joining me now from Nashville, MSNBC anchor and correspondent Lindsay Reiser. Lindsay, you've been speaking to the protesters. Tell me what these protesters are saying. I see a lot of moms and children there.
Yeah, Andrea, a lot of parents, a lot of young students coming here, thousands strong today to protest, to demand action of their legislators. Going to give you a peek inside here. The General Assembly is in session. There are actually several bills making their way through the legislature that would expand gun access, but hearings on those in committees have been paused until next week out of respect for families. But I've been talking to one lawmaker inside who says he's never seen a kind of crowd like this today.
Oh, you're doing it. You're doing it, Nashville. You're doing it. Yay. Yay, you. This is exactly what we were talking about yesterday. Exactly what I'm talking about, okay? You go and you coalesce and you stay unified and you demand in a crystal clear sentence what it is that you expect the legislature to do for you today. And they are chanting, gun control now, gun control now. This is, and the legislature, oh my God, they were about to pass increased access to weaponry in Tennessee. They were about to lower the age. They were about to increase the access to semi-automatic weapons. And out of respect, they said, they paused. What are you, Benjamin Netanyahu now? Yeah, they paused ever so temporarily. This reminds me of what happened in Uvalde. In Uvalde, you had 19 kids die, right? And a couple of teachers over there. And they had their NRA meeting scheduled in Texas, the National Rifle Association did. And out of respect for the loss of life, Abbott decided he wasn't going to go to the NRA convention. He was just going to send a pre-recorded message to the convention, which didn't even bother to pause for a brief moment. They just went on with it. And Ken Paxton, their attorney general in Texas, he showed up. Everybody else showed up. Abbott really, really, really wanted to go there because, he gets so much damn cash from them, like millions we're talking about. You know how much the NRA spent in the last presidential? $154 million. Just saying. Oh, this is a big cash business. This is a huge business, the death of our children, the maiming, mangling, and mutilating of children, and then saying stupid things after the fact, like there is no such thing as gun violence. Oh, no, you can't make this crap up. You really can't make this up. Yesterday, there was a hearing in the House of Representatives that included, the idea that Americans were very unified on the fact that we want at least background checks, at least red flag laws, at least lock boxes for handguns in houses where there are minor children who get curious and go rifle into your panty drawer and find the gun like I did. Yeah. But honestly, they're not interested in doing any of that. What they're interested in is distracting you and telling you that, you have this imaginary Second Amendment right to own any military equipment that your little heart desires, which is just pure bullcrap, okay? But as long as we're fighting over that, and I just want people to know, I just want people to realize that while we have had Democratic presidents in the past, the recent past, the modern past, we have had Bill Clinton, who signed an assault weapons ban into law, thus pausing the carnage in this country for 10 years. But nobody ever came to take your gun, did they? No, they grandfathered in your right to have whatever the hell you had previously purchased, right? Nobody came to take your guns. Nobody ever will come and take your guns. It's not a thing. We may actually do something serious like offering you cash for your gun, a la Australia or New Zealand or any other place that decided that they wanted to get rid of these assault weapons of war, and they offered people a chance to get cash for their weaponry. And a lot of people did. Okay, 650,000 guns were taken out of circulation, and the remaining firearms that weren't assault weapons in Australia were then registered. They had to be registered in order for you to be compliant with the law. But nobody came and took anybody's guns. They offered them cash. Now, I understand that we have a population in this country that would never take millions of dollars for their arsenal, which is probably what half of this country, is worth. You're probably sitting on a mountain of cash, but you would never cash out in exchange for your ability to, I don't know, believe that you'll end up like David Koresh in Waco. I don't know. You're going to go out in flames fighting the government with your arsenal there instead of taking a couple $1 million for your, collection. I don't know. I don't know what's wrong with people. I really, honest to God, don't. But they're very busy explaining to you that your children aren't being hurt by gun violence. No, that there is no such thing as gun violence. Can I just remind you that you would not have the expression gun violence without the guns? You'd have violence, but you wouldn't have gun violence, okay? And here's good old Clay Higgins, who, I swear to God, somebody needs to look under his mattress and find the stash of porn or whatever, perverted stuff he's looking at, reading, snorting, smoking, drinking, shooting. I don't know. He just doesn't seem right. He just doesn't seem right.
I'd like to address something that seems to be a repeated talking point of my Democrat colleagues now.
No. Yep.
Regarding gun violence, and gun violence being the #1 cause of death of children in America today. You'll hear that a lot.
Because it's true.
Let me correct both.
Oh.
There's no such thing as gun violence. There's only human violence. It's intellectually unsound to state otherwise. And the #1 cause of death for children in America remains abortion. And I don't appreciate my Democrat colleagues constantly lying to the American people, referring to gun violence as if it's not driven by human violence, and ignoring the fact that America has allowed millions upon millions of children to be killed in the womb.
Okay, so I get his premise. His premise is there's only human violence, not gun violence. So therefore, what? Get rid of humans? What is the solution to his human violence problem? First of all, can I just say, abortion is ending a pregnancy. It's not a child. It's not a 9-year-old. And if you don't believe me, look at the grief of somebody who has had to have an abortion because either the egg didn't implant or the fetus wasn't viable or the embryo, you just couldn't carry it for, a million. I mean, half of the pregnancies in this country aren't viable. They don't succeed all the way to birth, right? Like 70% of, the fertilized eggs don't implant, and they just get, like reabsorbed or washed away. It's called, well, we're not allowed to say it. I'm in Florida. You can't talk about your menstrual cycle anymore. That's illegal, too. But, I mean, he's sitting there, and he's saying there's no such thing as gun violence. There's only human violence, which makes sense if you don't want to get rid of guns, and you do want to get rid of humans. But this idea that the #1 killer of children is gun violence, don't let that get confounded with his ridiculous assertion that the #1 killer of children, he does realize children are living, doesn't he? And that embryos aren't? Does he realize that? I don't know. But it ain't abortion, okay? Abortion doesn't kill children. It ends, pregnancies. Most people end their pregnancy within the first trimester, okay? Within the first few weeks. So he's literally saying that a bunch of dividing cells, a glob, is the same as losing a 9-year-old. You need to really talk to some parents there, Clay. You need to get out more. You need to actually interact with real people who have real children, who don't believe that a glob of cells is the same as a 9-year-old or 12-year-old, or that a child and a teen are the same as an embryo or a fetus. I mean, this is bizarro world.
Clear.
Don't have time to listen to the live show? Want to hear more on your schedule? Go to RandiRhodes.com and buy a stinking podcast.